7 Utterances on the cross. All Christians have meditated on the 7 sayings of Jesus on the cross. The first 3 were about others. The last 4 were about himself. Let's think about them now. First, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." Luke 23, verse 34. In this utterance, we see the purpose of Jesus. He is more concerned for the souls of those mistreating him than he is for his own body. His suffering and bloodshed were making forgiveness of sins possible for the world. It was to fulfill this compassionate purpose that he submitted himself to the cruel death. As he said on his encounter with Zacchaeus, "The Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost." Luke 19, 9 and 10. Now the second utterance. Jesus said to the thief who asked Jesus to remember him, "Today you shall be with me in paradise." Luke 23:43. In this utterance, we see the hope of Jesus. He knew of a better place beyond this world, not only for himself but also for sinners who believed in him and his righteousness. The place that Jesus called paradise may not be heaven itself, but it is certainly a safe place along the way. The sure hope of the righteous Lord, and of those made righteous by him, is that death does not separate the righteous from God. Romans 8:37-39. Next is the third utterance. "Behold your son, behold your mother." John 19:26 and 27. In this saying, we see the love of Jesus. In his love for the whole world, he did not forget his special love for his mother, and the disciple into whose care he gave her. As John himself tells us, Jesus, knowing that his hour had come, to depart out of this world, to the Father, having loved his own, who were in the world, he loved them to the end. John 13:1. We can have confidence in his demonstrated love, and say with Paul, "He loved me, and gave himself for me." Galatians 2:20. Now the fourth utterance. Jesus speaks of himself, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Matthew 27:46. In this utterance, we see the faith of Jesus. Many teach that Jesus felt abandoned by God, and some even say that he was. However, we misunderstand this utterance if we think that it expresses despair. Jesus quoted, verbatim, from the beginning of the 22nd Psalm. This is a messianic psalm. The religious leaders inadvertently quoted this psalm against Jesus. Let God rescue him if he delights in him. Psalm 22:7 and 8. Matthew 27:41-43. The psalm contradicts the idea that God turned away from Jesus, for God has not despised or abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, nor has he hidden his face from him, but when he cried to him for help, God heard. Psalm 22:24. Although uttering only the anguished first words of the psalm, Jesus was drawing upon the spirit of the whole psalm. In you our fathers trusted, they trusted and you delivered them. To you they cried out and were delivered. In you they trusted and were not disappointed. Psalm 22:4 and 5. Next is the fifth utterance. I am thirsty. John 19:28. In this utterance, we see the suffering of Jesus. If we think that the Son of God was perhaps exercising some power by which he could avoid enduring the pain, we know we're mistaken. Jesus complains of feeling one of the agonies of crucifixion, a terrible thirst. My strength is dried up like a broken clay pot, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. Psalm 22:15. It is part of the Christian belief that we have our salvation through sufferings, which Jesus endured, to bring many sons to glory. Hebrews 2:10. And now the sixth utterance. Jesus said, "It is finished." John 19:30. In this utterance, we see the satisfaction of Jesus. The question of what Jesus referred to as finished is a cause for much discussion. It is natural to take it that he meant the ordeal of crucifixion was finished. It is also natural to suppose he meant his whole journey through earthly life, from birth to death, was finished. What we do know for certain is that Jesus is both the author and finisher of our faith. Hebrews 12:2, and what he started he saw through to the very end. Finally, the seventh utterance. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Luke 23:46. In this utterance we see the submission of Jesus. Jesus humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Philippians 2:8. Now with one last cry, he yields up his spirit to his Father. bows his head, breathes his last, and dies. In total submission he has committed himself body and spirit to God. Such surrender, is it too much for him to ask that we surrender ourselves wholly to him? Let's list the 7 utterances we have considered. First, Jesus expresses his purpose. Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Second, Jesus expresses his hope. Today you shall be with me in paradise. Third, Jesus speaks of his love. Behold your son, behold your mother. Fourth, Jesus indicates his faith. My God, why have you forsaken me? Fifth, he speaks of his suffering. I am thirsty. Sixth, Jesus expresses his satisfaction. It is finished. Seventh, our Lord expresses his submission. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Our lesson ends. Thank you so much for listening. You are invited to visit simplybible.com.